Hola, and welcome to Open Bar Podcast, brought to you by the only one open bar, cocktail and mobile bar services. For any event that you might have, private event, parties, private parties at your home, weddings, of course, I'll be available. You can call me and you can reach me out at 787-800-6554, to my website, openbymobile.com, openbymobile.com with a V, Movi as a victory, mobile.com. Any of the social networks you can find me also, Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest account I also have. You can check me out on TikTok if you would like to. I also have an account on TikTok, not much there, just a few silly things that I put up there. But yeah, you can find me at any of those social media. Right now, again, thank you for taking this time to be listening to this podcast. And I would like to talk in these 12 minutes about you being a tourist in Puerto Rico. Yeah, you, that the person that is speaking, that only speak English and only eat in English and do everything in English, that cannot handle anything in Spanish. Yeah, you, the tourist. The how can you survive in the Puerto Rican environment or the island environment? How much you're gonna love our environment? For sure, you will do that. First of all, I would like to start. I've been doing this for 21 years now. I've worked for many hotels and restaurants, and of course, my second language is English. And first language right now in tourism overall. First language is Mandarin. Second is Spanish, and then the third language is English. I know it hurts, but yeah, second language most spoken in the world right now is Spanish. So when you come to Puerto Rico and you only speak English, you'll be fine first, because you'll be mostly you're gonna be mostly around the touristic zone here, either San Juan or Dorado, Guaynabo, whatever other town, Carolina you're gonna be staying at. Everything that is called a touristic zone in Puerto Rico. Most of the people that is gonna be working there, they're gonna be bilingual. So you should feel safe, and you're gonna be safe because either at your hotel, they must be bilingual. It's a requirement to work at those hotels. Either it's a fancy hotel or it's a hostel or even an Airbnb. It doesn't matter. Your Airbnb host is gonna be bilingual for sure, and you will not have any issues with the people on your surroundings, at least in your hotel. Now, when you get out of the hotel, your host, Airbnb host or hotel host or the concierge, hotel concierge. I used to be a hotel concierge for almost 4 years in the biggest hotel in Puerto Rico by room, which is the Caribe Hilton. And I did great. I did a phenomenal job as a concierge there, and I met many people with those struggles when they get out of the hotel. They ask me if it's outside, is it safe, because they have bad experiences in other countries. I don't want to mention any country in specific, but they had these bad experiences in other countries, and they believe Puerto Rico is gonna be the same. And they ask, I remember when they asked me at the bars or as a concierge, they asked me if they're gonna need the passport to go to a convenience store or to a Walmart store, or whatever, to a restaurant, if they need to carry their passport. And of course, my answer was no. You don't need to carry your passport when you are in Puerto Rico. You of course, as the American citizen that you are not gonna need a passport to be carrying around. Whatever issue you have, or you may have an issue, then you just go and call the police. Police will file a report, and you'll be good to go. If they steal your cell phone, your wallet, or whatever, and you lost it, or in a hotel, it happens also. In the hotel, people lost something, you go to lost and found. And if you're in the streets, then you just call the police like any other of the states. So you should feel safe when you are in Puerto Rico. The last stats that I checked from last year in tourism in Puerto Rico, that a burglary has happened, like somebody just point a gun or something to that tourist. Just 11 times it happened here in Puerto Rico last year. Just 11 times somebody report that it was assaulted by these criminals, you know, in the streets of Puerto Rico. 11 times in the whole year. And then you can argue, oh, well, probably that's somebody that the other people that just don't want to file a complaint because they need to go. Well, that's a point, but it's not what happened in the majority of the case. Most of the cases, people want to recover the stuff, the credit cards, probably their passport or their driver's license going back to the States, so they go and file a report. So what I mean with this is that in Puerto Rico, criminals do not mess with the tourists. Why? Mostly because they know the tourists only carry the credit cards. They don't carry cash. If I'll be next to a tourist talking around, they may look at me. Of course, I look very Puerto Rican, and they will look, well, I look very from some other countries, and people think that I am not Puerto Rican, even if I'm born and raised, and all my family is from Puerto Rico. And even the same Puerto Rican asks me if I'm Puerto Rican. So hey, it's not my fault. It probably is the public agencies or public advertisement fault that they only show blonde and beautiful people around. And when they see me that I'm not as beautiful as a Puerto Rican I should be, of course I'm more beautiful than that. But they say, where are you from? I say, what do you mean I'm from? Puerto Rican. No, well, you don't look Puerto Rican. So fuck to whoever thinks that I am not Puerto Rican. And going back to the issues with the criminal stuff, yeah, just feel safe in Puerto Rico. They might point a gun at me and they are gonna ask me for money because they know I'm a local, and locals mostly carry cash, period. And the tourists, they just carry credit card. They might probably take your phone and they just keep going, but they don't mess with tourists here in Puerto Rico. That's what I'm trying to explain. So feel safe in Puerto Rico. I just explained that. I don't want to keep going into that. Feel safe when you're in Puerto Rico. You don't need to carry your passport. Secondly, now with this COVID stuff, there is a lot of tourism that is not like the best tourism that we are normally have around. What I mean with is not the best because, well, when a trip to Puerto Rico costs you round trip $100, then it's gonna be easier for anybody to come around. What I mean with that is that if they spend $100 on the ticket, they probably spend another $200 in the hotel, and they're gonna spend probably another few bucks going to a hotel or just walking around. They're gonna start looking for cheap stuff. Like, oh my God, a mojito, $10? What do you mean? Oh, that's too expensive. I thought Puerto Rico was cheaper. So what do you mean Puerto Rico is cheaper? It's 11% tax here, sales tax. So, I mean, yeah, taxes here are very high. Probably higher than Baltimore. Not as high as Hawaii, but yeah, it's 11% high. So do not expect Puerto Rico to be cheap. Puerto Rico is not a cheap island. But unfortunately, we are receiving cheap tourists lately these past months just because of the COVID. And remember, I don't want to explain myself. What I mean with being cheap is when you are just go around to any restaurant and ask for, hey, just give me a $5 mojito or just give me a $1 beer. That's what I mean cheap. So let's just to be clear on that. Another point when you're visiting Puerto Rico is the hotels prices are gonna be a little higher also on a normal rate. In Puerto Rico, for a night, for a regular hotel might cost you $125 to $160. That's an average room rate in Puerto Rico. Just to let you know about that also. Of course, we have rooms that are $5,000 a night. Airbnbs, even the Airbnbs now are going higher prices. Regular price Airbnb for a night in Puerto Rico might cost you probably between $80 to $90. That's the average price. You're gonna see one that might cost you $50, but it's gonna be way outside the San Juan metro area. Plus they're gonna charge you $20-30 for cleaning, so that's the $80 right there. So yeah, not even the Airbnbs in Puerto Rico are cheap. If you find something that's $60 flat rate, that's a steal. Take it and enjoy it, because there are not many of those around. Restaurants, when you come to a restaurant, the offer is gonna be international food mostly. It's not gonna be French food or only American food or only Puerto Rican food. Now you can go anywhere and you can find Italian food, or you can find, of course, Puerto Rican food as an offer, American food, Spaniard food. So I mean, honestly, here our culture here, we love a lot to our international taste. I will call it that way. Of course, we go first to our food, but you can talk to any Puerto Rican about paellas, and paellas is a national plate from Spain, and they will tell you how to make a paella, you know. So it's basically that. Same thing on pastas. Puerto Ricans are pasta and pizza fans, so there's gonna be a lot of pizza places around the island and touristic zone. So when you come to Puerto Rico, come with an open mind that you're gonna again find great restaurants, international food restaurants. Your prices are not gonna be cheap. They're gonna be probably a little lower than New York, of course, but it's not gonna be cheap for the Caribbean compared to any other countries around in the Caribbean. So Puerto Rico is gonna be a little bit higher, but and of course, our best asset that we have before I leave is the people. You're gonna notice that us as Puerto Ricans, we will do our best to make you feel great, to make you feel comfortable in our island, because that's what we need, that's what we want. And at the least we want from you is just a smile and just say gracias, and which is thank you in Spanish, you know. So feel free to come here to Puerto Rico, that you're gonna have a great time, you're gonna enjoy a lot, and we are gonna do our best to make you feel like you are the best and make you come back to Puerto Rico, which is what we want. We want you to come back. We want you to enjoy while you're here. So yeah, thank you again. This is it for this podcast. Thank you for listening. It's been my pleasure doing this podcast in English. And check the mix.